Welcome to the A's, Tommy Tanks.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Locked On A's, I'm Kyle Morrison. Appreciate all of you joining me here today. I'm out in Clovis, California, where I think it's 100 degrees at this point, but I'm sitting right next to a massive industrial fan that is cooling me. I'm announcing a swim meet out here this weekend and getting the Locked On A's episode in here on assignment. Later in the episode, I'm going to be telling you about my expectations for the A's as they head into the second half of the season after the All-Star break. Before that, we're going to talk about 10 things to look forward to as we head into the second half. I know it might seem weird to believe that there's anything to look forward to right now with this A's team, with the way they've played recently, losing 9 straight and 13 of 14. But we got 10 things to look forward to that I'm excited to share with you guys. But first and foremost, the big news of the day, Tommy Tanks is coming up to the A's. Tommy White, one of the A's top prospects, has been called up to the Athletics. The A's making a move, designating Aaron Civale for assignment. Tommy White will be coming up with a .303 batting average down in the minor leagues, and this is a guy that I'm very excited to see in an A's uniform for a multitude of reasons. First and foremost, obviously he's a top prospect, someone that the A's have been very, very high on, but also, if you remember, when he was in college at North Carolina State and even at LSU, the dude was an absolute monster, someone who could absolutely mash. That's the reason he's the number 7 prospect right now for the Athletics, and so yet another young player, another young position player, promising young position player that the A's are adding to this position player group. The full transaction, Tommy White gets called up. Their A's are also going to call up their number 27 prospect, a pitcher, Yunior Tur, which although Tommy White gets the headlines, and obviously he's the first person we're talking about on this show, if Yunior Tur could turn into anything, absolutely anything, up in the major leagues, of course, that would be a big boost because the A's need pitching in the worst possible way. In order to make room for Tommy White on the major league roster, and in order to make room for White and Tur on the 40-man roster, Aaron Civale will get designated for assignment. It does not look like they know what the other corresponding move is going to be to get the second player on the 26-man roster. But Aaron Civale, who of course was signed by the A's before the season to be a veteran starting pitcher for this rotation, will no longer be on the A's as he gets DFA. A couple of thoughts on this whole thing. We'll start off with Aaron Civale. First and foremost, I'm a little surprised they didn't try to trade him. I know that when you're designated for assignment, you technically can still be traded, but it seems like you kind of give away all your leverage when you DFA a guy like Aaron Civale, particularly because if you know anything about Aaron Civale, I mean, this was a guy who last year wanted to be traded because he didn't want to be used out of the bullpen by the Brewers, I believe. So why would he want to? No, it was the Cubs. That's who he was with. He was with the Cubs. He didn't want to be used out of the bullpen. He requested a trade so that he could be a starter. I don't see a guy like that going down to the minor leagues and taking an outright assignment. Again, in order to be outrighted as a veteran, you have to agree to it. And I don't see Aaron Civale doing that. I think he would want to become a free agent. So by DFAing him, you get rid of all your leverage because you can't really keep him on the roster anyway. So I guess they could trade him, but this probably becomes more of a cash considerations transaction if they do decide to trade him than actually trying to get a prospect back or something useful that the A's can actually use here as they continue on through the 2026 campaign and beyond. As far as the guys that are getting called up, again, I was going over Tommy White's stats a little bit. The man is 23 years old. He was drafted by the A's in the second round of the 2024 draft. He was the 40th overall pick. Again, this was a guy who was absolutely electric when he was at North Carolina State. That's how he got his Tommy Tanks nickname in 2022. He was a big part of that North Carolina State team that stole the ACC bid into the NCAA tournament and got pretty far in the NCAA tournament as well. His numbers down in minor leagues, 8-10 home runs, 64 RBIs. He has looked a lot better this year compared to his first couple of years in change in the minor leagues, where he only had a low 7s OPS, and he only 4 home run here and change down in the minors. So excited to see what Tommy White can do. I would assume that one of the position players for the A's is going to have to go down to the minor leagues or be DFA'd in order to make this move make sense. I'm interested to see if they decide to get rid of Colby Thomas or Alika Williams or something like that. Tommy White's a third baseman, so he would have to play the infield, obviously. I could see them DFAing Colby Thomas, not DFAing. I'm optioning Colby Thomas. They're not in a position where you have to DFA him. He's been struggling. His OPS is below 600. I could also see them optioning or DFAing Alika Williams, although Alika Williams has been playing quite well. And, of course, who knows? There might be another move on the horizon that we just don't know yet that could play into this whole thing as well. But Tommy Tanks will be coming up to the Major League team for the A's. Very, very excited to see what Tommy White can do. I just think this is the type of guy just screams box office. He just screams the type of player who is going to be able to come up to the Major League roster, not skip a beat, and honestly feel comfortable with kind of the larger magnifying glass on him. Remember, this is a guy who got better in college when the games got bigger. I think that, there is a certain gene or a certain trait that certain players have where they really play their best when things get the toughest or when the microscope gets the furthest zoomed in. So I'm excited to see what Tommy White can do, and we'll see if he comes up and can help this A's offense that was just utterly atrocious going into the break. Joey Meneses, that's another guy I'm thinking he probably could be the one that could get sent down or DFA'd. Honestly, with Joey Meneses, you might DFA him at this point, and that would be a pretty easy move because Meneses is a first baseman. I'm assuming if Tommy White can play third, he can play first. Usually that's a transferable skill, and so we'll see what the A's decide to do. But now that I'm thinking about it, Joey Meneses is probably the guy who's going to end up losing his job with the A's. As far as the other player the A's decided to bring up, Yunior Tur. He's 26 years old, still was top 30 on the prospects list for the A's at 27. He's a Cuban immigrant, was born in 1999 in Cuba. He's coming up on his 27th birthday. So for a guy like Yunior Tur, it's really now or never for him, right? Once you get into your late 20s and you haven't been in the major leagues yet, it really is tough in this day and age in baseball to break in to the major leagues. Tur, he comes in with a 4.41 ERA in 51 innings, a 1.31 whip. What really is the good number for me, 64 strikeouts in 51 innings down in the minor leagues. That shows me that he has really, really good stuff. For Vegas, he's made 5 games started, but most of his outings have been out of the bullpen. 27 games, 22 of them out of the bullpen. He's got 6 holds, so he's been used as kind of a setup man quite a bit down in Las Vegas. So excited to see what Yunior Tur offers as he comes up to the big leagues. He has paid his dues, to say the least. He started off down in 2023 with Stockton and with the rookie ball team, spent 2024 entirely with Stockton. Last year was the year he really started to climb up. Went up to Lansing, then went up to Midland, then it went up to Vegas, and now he'll be up in the big leagues. And look, the A's have no one in their bullpen I feel confident about. So bringing this guy up, give him a shot. I don't care. Let's see what he can do. Knowing Mark Kotsay, he's going to put him in a leverage situation immediately because that's what Mark Kotsay likes to do as soon as he calls guys up for some reason. So, yes, A's making some moves here coming into the second half. Not staying stagnant on the roster. They get rid of a veteran and bring up a couple of rookies. And I would think Joey Meneses, another kind of older guy, is probably out the door here pretty soon as well. I could be wrong. It could be someone else. But I think Joey Meneses probably makes the most sense as the guy who ends up being the odd man out of the A's 26-man roster. All right, we're going to take our first break of the show, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about 10 things to look forward to in the second half for the Athletics. Before we get into today's show, it's time for Everyday Icon, presented by Stance. As the official sock partner of Major League Baseball, Stance knows greatness isn't built in a single moment. It's earned over time through consistency, preparation, and showing up every day. That's why each week we're recognizing one player whose performance embodies those same qualities. This week's Everyday Icon is Gage Jump, coming up to the major leagues from the minors, and he has been an instant difference maker for the A's, having some of the more impressive performances we've seen out of a starting pitcher here in 2026. He is a strikeout legend, and he is someone who has really stabilized this A's starting rotation behind JT Ginn, giving the A's at least 2 starters that they can count on. The Everyday Icon is presented by Stance. Check out the Icon collection from Stance. Premium comfort, performance, and durability designed for whatever your day brings. Use code LOCKEDON at checkout for 20% off your purchase. Stance, the official sock partner of Major League Baseball. Learn more at stance.com. Baseball players are known for their routines, whether it's a lucky jersey, a big game ritual, or sticking to the same preparation every day. Consistency matters. And when it comes to hair thinning, there can be a lot of products out there making promises, but not always a lot of confidence behind them. That's why more people are looking for solutions backed by real science and trusted experts. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand and the official hair growth partner of Major League Baseball. What really makes Nutrafol stand out is that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's designed to fit into your routine while addressing the root causes of thinning with personalized solutions. One daily routine or habit that I talk about a lot on the show that I really enjoy and makes me feel good about myself is running. I try to get a run in every day, whether it's short, whether it's long. In fact, I'm going to try to run today despite the fact that it's melting here in Fresno eventually. But it's just one of those things that makes me feel confident about myself, makes me feel like I can accomplish things, and just makes me feel comfortable in my own skin. And a lot of people who are suffering from hair thinning, they need a solution that helps them with those things. And Nutrafol is a company that offers solutions to people going through those problems. Find out why Nutrafol is the only hair growth supplement brand trusted by MLB. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter code LOCKEDON-MLB. All right, well, let's try to get a little positive here on Locked On A's. There has not been a lot of positive news, to say the least, amongst the A's country, if you will. A lot of losses, 9 straight, 13-14. But with that said, we're heading into the second half, which is kind of a new start here as we head into the second half of baseball. And although the A's sit at 41-55, I'm hoping that the All-Star break and heading into the second half of the season allows them a chance to reset and feel better about themselves. And although I'm not super confident about their chance to make the playoffs, I still think there are some things that we can look forward to in the second half of the season that we can hope will hopefully put them in a position to contend for the playoffs coming up in subsequent years. So I put together a list of 10 things I'm looking forward to in the second half. Once I read my list, if you have anything you're looking forward to, please feel free to comment. Again, I read your comments a lot on the show, and I would love to feature some positive 10 or less or more things that you're looking forward to as we head into the second half of the season. Number 10, and it's only number 10 because it seems unrealistic, can the A's get back in it? Look, the American League is awful. It's horrible. It's absolute just bad baseball all the way around. There's a shot the A's could still get back in it. As bad as they've played, as much as they sit at 41-55, as bad as that is, look, the Red Sox were out of it. They won a bunch of games before the end of the first half, and now they're only a half game out of a playoff spot. So why not the A's? That's something I'm really looking forward to, seeing if the A's can find a way to get back into the playoff race here in 2026. Do I think it's realistic? Do I think it's going to happen? No, but it's still something I'm going to look forward to and look hopefully shiningly upon, because, of course, I am the Locked On A's host. Next, will Mark Kotsay and David Forst, will they save their job? Again, I don't like to call on people to get fired, but these are two guys right now who I'm sure are not feeling all that comfortable in their jobs. At least I think so. I don't know what the exact politics of the whole thing is, but you look at Mark Kotsay, staring down another losing record in his managerial tenure. This is now his 5th season as the manager of the A's. He's never had a winning record. And if he finishes with a losing record here in this season, that's 5 straight seasons with losing records. Can you really keep a manager if he has never had a winning record in 5 seasons? I don't know the answer to that question. And Mark Kotsay is going to try to get the team over 500 so he doesn't have to answer that question. On the other side, David Forst, someone who I've been very critical of this season, you know, with the bullpen has struggled this year, with all of the weird different options that we've seen kind of mess up the A's roster-wise. Does David Forst keep his job after the season? I'm feeling Forst and John Fisher, they have a pretty close relationship, so that might be a little bit more of a stretch, thinking David Forst might lose his job. But again, when you have a team that has not had a winning season since 2021, anything seems like it's on the table. Number 8, who will the A's trade or trade for? About a few weeks ago, we were thinking the A's had a shot to be buyers. At this point, it's pretty clear they're sellers. I'm looking for them to try to trade Jonah Heim, get something for him. He's been red hot, someone they could really sell high on and hopefully get something back for. Jeff McNeil, Alika Williams, these are guys that maybe other teams would be willing to take a shot on. And then who knows, would there be a big domino to drop? Would they trade a guy like Tyler Soderstrom? Would they trade a guy like JT Ginn, guys who are having really good years that they may think they can go and get a really good prospect for? And look, the A's need pitching. If the A's can trade a position player to get a top-line prospect or a top-of-the-line pitcher, and when I say prospect, I mean pitching prospect as well, I think the A's probably have to do it. At number 7, will anyone in this bullpen step up? I think that at some point there's got to be someone in this bullpen who has the talent and has the wherewithal to really come through and have a really, really good second half. I don't know who it's going to be. Is it going to be Justin Sterner? Is it going to be Elvis Alvarado? Is it going to be this Yunior Tur kid? I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to see if anyone in this bullpen steps up in the second half. Remember, it was the second half after the A's traded Mason Miller when bullpen really got good last year. Now, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were pitching in meaningless games. It takes a lot of the pressure off and so on and so forth. With that said, we did see the bullpen improve in the second half last year. Will we see the bullpen improve this year in the second half? And who will be kind of the key to that improvement? At number 6, which prospects will come up? We're going to see more prospects come up. It seems like the A's have been willing to pull the trigger on a lot of these guys very quickly. There's a lot of guys down in the minors that I would love to see come up to the major leagues. Henry Baez. Could we see Jamie Arnold? Quite possibly. Devin Taylor down in the minor leagues. He's someone that I'd be excited to see. Dare I say Leo DeVries? Would Leo DeVries be someone on the table that we might see come up to the major leagues? There is a lot of young talent still down in this A's minor league system. And as we've seen, the A's have been unafraid of calling up a lot of their top prospects throughout the season. So it'll be interesting to see if one of those guys down there is able to get the call and possibly make an impact on this 2026 A's team. Next, is Joshua Kuroda-Grauer that guy? JKG has come up, and he's really lit the world on fire here for the A's. He has been absolutely phenomenal. We've seen him put up hit after hit after hit. He's hitting about 500, even though he's only been in the league for a couple of weeks. I'm really interested to see if he turns himself into a real factor for the A's going into next year. Could he displace some of these guys that we think are going to be sure things on the A's infield? And honestly, for me, what I think would be the best scenario is he establishes himself as a starting second baseman as the A's can count on going into 2027 at that position. Obviously, McNeil, I think, is someone the A's are going to want to offload rid of that salary. At number 4, can JT Ginn maintain the run that he's been on so far this year? Remember, coming into the season, JT Ginn, he wasn't even a starter. He was one of the last bullpen guys to make it onto the team. He ends up getting his shot to start, and he's been one of the best starters in the American League so far this year, and definitely the most consistent and best starter for the A's here in 2026. Was the first half all a mirage? Was it all something that is unsustainable? Or will JT Ginn really sustain this and put himself in a position where he may be one of the rising aces in Major League Baseball going into 2027? At number 3, Gage Jump, Rookie of the Year possibility. I think there's a chance if he continues to pitch the way that we saw early in his stint with the A's. At the end of the second half, he had some rough starts, but look, this is a guy, when he's on, has some of the best stuff in Major League Baseball. Some of the A's are obviously very, very high on for the future. But this year, can Gage Jump possibly put himself in that Rookie of the Year talk? Can he finish off a great rookie season and put himself in a position to be a possible ace going forward for years to come? At number 2, can Shea Langeliers hit 40 homers? He's at 21 right now. I would love to see Shea Langeliers get over that 40 home run mark. I think it would be a great cap off to what has been just a great breakout season for Shea. Hard to say breakout because we've always known that Shea Langeliers is one of the best in the American League going back a couple of years now, but he's showing the world now. And so I want to see if Shea Langeliers can hit 40 home runs here in 2026. He's definitely got a shot. He's going to just have to continue to be consistent. And at number 1, the number 1 thing that I am looking forward to in the second half for the A's, can Nick contend and possibly in the MVP? His are good. His league, and I really hope that it happens, because it would really kind of add something for adds interest to keep an eye on, as it's likely that the A's are actually going to contend for a playoff spot. All right, we are going to take one more break. We're going to come back. Support for today's episode comes from Indeed Sponsored Jobs. When workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire, Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and location. So less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the right fit. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. And the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. You talk about having the right person, player, coach who changed the outcome of a season. How about Gage Jump coming up to the major leagues for the A's? If it wasn't for Gage Jump, I don't know what the A's would do. Only one good starter in their rotation. It would be JT Ginn. Gage Jump has at least given the A's two guys in their starting rotation that they can really count on in what has been a difficult pitching season for the Athletics so far. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Nothing like watching an A's game. Even better when you get to watch it live. The excitement, the fans. The only problem, getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's where there's Game Time. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. You know, I have to read all these sponsors, and obviously I'm a fan of all of them because they're, you know, sponsoring my show. But Game Time is one of the sponsors that I actually use in everyday life quite a bit. Of course, I'm a big sports fan. I love buying tickets to games, and Game Time is my go-to when it comes to trying to find the cheapest tickets and trying to find tickets on a website that gives me the best overall experience, so I know exactly where I'm sitting and what kind of experience I'm going to have based on who I'm taking to the game, or even if I'm just going by myself. 2 taps and it's done. No stress, no hidden fees, just great seats and minutes. That's what makes it so easy to decide last minute to hit a game. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, heading into our last segment here of the show, and I'm going to give you what I expect out of the A's here in the second half. You know, it's really tough to kind of gauge what this team is because we saw them for the first couple of months around or in first place of the American League West, and they weren't dominant by any means. They were kind of hanging around 500 in what has been a weak division and a weak league overall. But that said, you know, we have also, of course, seen this A's team play the opposite of that, about as bad as you could. As I'm heading to this 2026 second half, what are my expectations for the A's? Well, my first and foremost expectation, believe it or not, is I do expect them to play better than they did at the end of the first half. As bad as this bullpen is, as bad as this starting rotation is, I think they were kind of going through the worst possible case scenario at the end of the first half where neither JT Ginn or Gage Jump pitched very well, and the rest of the rotation was really, really bad. I think Gage Jump and JT Ginn are going to pitch better than that as we head into the second half because I think both of them are very, very good pitchers. I also think that the rest of this rotation, Jeffrey Springs, just out of sheer probability, has to pitch better in the second half. So I expect him to pitch better. Luis Severino is supposedly going to come back at some point, so he's someone who I also expect to pitch a little bit better as well. And then I actually think guys in the minors like Luis Morales and possibly Yunior Tur, or even a guy like Henry Baez are going to come up and make this pitching staff better. As far as the bullpen is concerned, I think someone's going to step up. Color me an optimist, but I think someone's going to step up. I don't think this bullpen or starting rotation is going to be good by any means, but I do think they will be better than at least the end of the first half. And also, the offense is going to be better too. I expect the offense to play better as well. This offense has way too much talent to look as bad as they did at the end of the first half. I expect Nick Kurtz to come back in fairly short order, and I expect this offense to be a lot better. I think this team, realistically, can probably get to the high 70s in wins. I think they're going to have a winning record in the second half, and I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I do think we're looking forward to a better second half, at least than we saw at the end of the first half. I also expect this A's team to make some trades at the trade deadline. I think they're going to trade Jonah Heim. At least I hope they do. I think if they don't, that's total front office malpractice because he's going to be a free agent after the year, and he's playing so well right now. You have to capitalize on it. I also think that we're going to be in for a surprise trade as well. Again, we did not expect the A's to trade Mason Miller last year, and they ended up doing it. So I expect the A's to make a move, and I expect them to make a move to hopefully make this pitching staff and make this prospect base, as far as pitching is concerned, a lot better. Other expectations going forward. I expect Mark Kotsay is going to lose his job at the end of the year. I'm not calling for it. I'm not hoping for it. But I do think if the A's are unable to finish above 500, that Mark Kotsay is probably going to lose his job. I think that the first kind of hint that this was coming, or this will be coming, is the Scott Emerson firing. Scott Emerson is a big part of Mark Kotsay's staff, someone who was a holdover from the Bob Melvin era. And I think if you're getting rid of Scott Emerson, it's hard for me to really think that they're going to be riding behind Mark Kotsay quite as loyally as they have over the last few years. So I'm expecting Mark Kotsay to maybe not be in a job with the A's once the end of the season comes around. And that might be kind of my biggest prediction coming forward here for the second half of the A's. I expect the A's to play better in Sacramento. I think they've played about as bad as you can possibly play in that ballpark. I think that at a certain point, the law of averages has to give in. I expect the A's to play a little bit better in Sacramento and at least make it seem like somewhat of a home field advantage. Look, it's obvious that the players don't like playing there. It's a minor league ballpark. If you're a Major League Baseball player, why would you want to play in a minor league ballpark? But I do expect that the A's will play a little bit better in Sacramento. I expect Lawrence Butler to have a better second half. I think Lawrence Butler played about as bad as you can possibly see Lawrence Butler play. I think Lawrence Butler will come through and play a lot better in the second half. Will that be enough to inspire confidence in me for him about him going forward the rest of the season? I am not sure, but I expect Lawrence Butler to have a better second half. And then I expect Nick Kurtz to make an MVP push. I think Nick Kurtz is good enough. I think Nick Kurtz is starting to come into himself, and I think that Nick Kurtz is going to come off the injured list hungry. I think Nick Kurtz is going to be in this MVP conversation to the very end, and it's going to make it very exciting for us A's fans watching him, hopefully making his way towards possible American League MVP contention, or who knows, a possible American League MVP in the end. I do also expect fun continuing to this. I expect to continue to have your content, and I expect to continue the best fans in baseball. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back on Monday morning. Make sure you tune in then.